Daniel Harris was not supposed to be here. He was a simple engineer on the Earthship called Starbound Hope. His job was to fix broken machines and keep the engines running. He was not a diplomat. He was not a politician. He was just a man who was good with tools. But life had a strange way of pushing people into places they did not expect. 3 hours before the Galactic Concord Summit began, Ambassador Clark got very sick. The doctor said it was some kind of alien food that did not agree with his stomach. He could not stand up without feeling dizzy. He certainly could not represent humanity at the most important political gathering in the known. Galaxy. Captain Linda Moore called Daniel to her office. She looked tired and worried. "I need you to fill the empty seat," she said. Daniel stared at her. "Me? Captain, I fix pipes and power systems. I do not know anything about galactic politics." "You do not need to know anything," the captain replied. "You just need to sit there, look respectful, and not start a war. Can you do that?" Daniel wanted to say no. He wanted to go back to his engine room where things made sense. But he saw the desperation in his captain's eyes. Earth was the newest member of the Galactic Concord. They could not afford to leave their seat empty. "I will do my best," he said. The captain handed him a formal uniform and a small data tablet with notes about proper behavior. Daniel read through them on the shuttle ride to the Valari orbital station. Do not speak unless spoken to. Do not touch anything without permission. Bow slightly when greeting other species. Do not make direct eye contact with the Kreth warriors because they see it as a challenge. The list went on and on. Daniel's head hurt by the time he arrived. The Valari station was the most beautiful thing he had ever seen. It floated in space like a giant flower made of glass and light. The walls seemed to glow from within. The floors were smooth as water. Everywhere Daniel looked, he saw wonders that human engineers could only dream of building. He followed the crowd of delegates into the grand hall. The room was so big that he could not see the far walls. Floating lights drifted overhead like stars that had come inside to watch. Tables were arranged in circles, with the most important species sitting near the center and the less important ones pushed to the edges. Humanity's table was almost at the back, near the doors where servants came and went with food and drinks. Daniel found the small Earth flag and sat down in the uncomfortable chair. He placed his data tablet on the table and tried to look like he belonged. He did not belong. He knew that. Everyone knew that. Humans had only joined the Galactic Concord 2 years ago. Most of the other species had been traveling between stars for thousands of years. The Valari Empire was over 10,000 years old. The Kreth Dominion had conquered half the galaxy before humans learned to make fire. To these ancient races, humanity was like a baby taking its first steps. Daniel watched the other delegates arrive. The Kreth were huge, almost 3 meters tall, with thick gray skin and 4 arms. They walked like they owned the room. The Vasi were snake-like creatures that slithered across the floor with quiet grace. The Fenari were small and quick, with big eyes that seemed to see everything at once. And then there were the Valari. Daniel had read about them, but reading was nothing compared to seeing. The Valari looked almost human, but more perfect. Their skin was silver, like polished metal. They had 4 eyes arranged in a diamond shape on their faces. They moved like dancers, every step smooth and deliberate. Queen Lyrina entered the hall, and everything stopped. She was tall, even for a Valari. Her silver hair flowed down her back like a waterfall of moonlight. She wore a simple white dress that somehow looked more impressive than all the jewels and gold worn by other leaders. Her 4 violet eyes scanned the room with calm authority. Everyone bowed. Even the proud Kreth generals lowered their heads. Daniel bowed too, bending at the waist like he had practiced on the shuttle. The queen walked toward the center of the hall, surrounded by guards and advisors. Daniel watched her pass, admiring her grace from a safe distance. Then he remembered the rules and looked away. He needed to find something to drink. His throat was dry from nervousness. He stood up and began to walk toward a serving table near the wall. The hall was crowded. Daniel had to weave between groups of talking aliens, saying, "Excuse me," and "sorry," every few steps. A Kreth warrior glared at him. A Vossi diplomat hissed softly as he passed. Daniel kept his eyes down and kept moving. He was halfway across the room when someone touched his arm. Daniel turned and found himself looking directly into 4 violet eyes. Queen Lorena stood before him. She was even more beautiful up close. Her silver skin seemed to glow with its own inner light. She smelled like flowers he could not name. "You are the human," she said. It was not a question. Daniel's mouth opened, but no words came out. His brain had stopped working. The queen of the most powerful empire in the galaxy was talking to him. To him, the engine fixer from Earth. "Yes," he finally managed to say. "I am Daniel Harris. I am just filling in for our ambassador. He got sick." The queen tilted her head slightly. Her 4 eyes studied his face as if she was reading a book written on his skin. Daniel felt exposed, like she could see every secret he had ever kept. Then she smiled. It was a small smile, barely a curve of her silver lips. But it changed her whole face. She went from distant and cold to warm and almost human. "Come with me," she said. Before Daniel could respond, she took his arm. Her fingers were cool against his skin, but her grip was firm. She turned and began walking toward the center of the hall, and Daniel had no choice but to follow. The crowd parted before them. Every eye in the room turned to watch. Daniel heard gasps and whispers in a dozen different languages. He saw the Kreth general's face twist with anger. He saw his own captain standing near the Earth table, her mouth hanging open in shock. Queen Lorena led him to the central table, the place of highest honor. She pulled out the chair at her right side, the seat reserved for her most trusted advisor or her chosen partner. "Sit," she commanded. Daniel sat. His legs felt weak. His heart was beating so fast he thought it might burst. The queen lowered herself into her own chair with perfect grace. She leaned close to him, so close that her silver hair brushed against his shoulder. Her breath was warm against his ear. "You belong beside me," she whispered. Daniel did not understand. He did not know why she had chosen him. He did not know what she wanted or what this meant for humanity or for himself. But he knew one thing with absolute certainty. His life would never be the same again. The investigation moved fast. The Valari guards were good at their work. Within 2 days, they found the Voran assassin hiding in the lower levels of the station. He was small, covered in black scales, and his eyes held no emotion at all. They brought him before the queen and asked him questions. The Voran refused to speak at first. Then the queen's chief interrogator went to work. Daniel did not want to know what that involved. He only knew that after 3 hours, the assassin started talking. He had been hired through a secret network. The payment had come from multiple sources, hidden behind layers of false names and fake accounts. But one name kept appearing in the records, always at the edge, always trying to stay hidden. General Thorax. The Kreth general had paid for Daniel's death. He had tried to murder a guest of the Queen, a direct attack on Valari hospitality. Under galactic law, this was a serious crime that demanded justice. But Thorax was clever. When confronted with the evidence, he did not run or try to hide. Instead, he did something unexpected. He demanded a formal tribunal. Under the Galactic Concord's oldest laws, any delegate could call for a tribunal to challenge the honor or standing of another. The tribunal would be held before all the assembled species. Both sides would present their case. and the gathered delegates would vote to decide the truth. Thorax turned himself from a criminal into an accuser. "I did not try to kill a human," he announced to the assembled delegates. "I tried to expose a trick, a deception that threatens the entire Concord." He pointed at Daniel with one of his forearms. "This human has manipulated the Queen through lies and false stories. He has used her grief for her family to gain power he does not deserve. I demand proof of his claims. I demand that he answer for his crimes against galactic tradition." The Queen's face showed no emotion, but Daniel could see the tension in her shoulders. This was bad. Thorax had changed the story. Now Daniel was the one on trial. The tribunal was held the next day in the center of the Grand Hall. Every delegate gathered to watch. Floating cameras broadcast the event across the galaxy. Billions of beings were watching from thousands of worlds. Daniel stood alone in the middle of the floor. He had no lawyers, no advisors, no team of experts to help him. Earth was too new to the Concord to know all the legal tricks. He had only himself and whatever truth he could offer. Thorax spoke first. He was good at public speaking. His voice boomed through the hall as he painted a picture of human deception. He called humans liars and manipulators. He said they had tricked the Valari, used a fake story about saving the princess to gain favor. He demanded that Daniel be expelled from the summit and that humanity be punished for their crimes. When he finished, the hall was quiet. Many delegates nodded along with his words. They had always been suspicious of humans. Thorax was saying what they already wanted to believe. Then it was Daniel's turn to speak. He walked to the center of the floor and looked around at the assembled faces. He saw creatures of every shape and size. He saw ancient species who had ruled the stars before humans learned to walk upright. He saw doubt in their eyes, suspicion, and in some cases open hostility. He was terrified. His hands were shaking. His mouth was dry, but he thought about his brother. He thought about Sam, who had never backed down from anything in his life. Sam had not been afraid to help strangers on a distant moon. Sam had not worried about what others would think. He had just done what was right. Daniel could do the same. "I did not ask for any of this," he began. His voice was quiet at first, but it grew stronger as he spoke. "I came to this summit because someone got sick and they needed a body to fill a chair. That is the truth. I am not a diplomat. I am not a spy. I am an engineer who fixes broken machines." He looked at Thorax. "I did not know about my brother's actions until the Queen told me. Sam never mentioned that he saved a Valari princess. He never talked about it at all, because that was who he was. He did not help people for praise or reward. He helped them because it was the right thing to do." Daniel turned to face the wider audience. "That is what humans are. We are not perfect. We make mistakes. We have done terrible things to each other throughout our history. But we also have something that sets us apart. We help strangers. We run toward danger to save people we have never met. We share our food with hungry mouths, even when we do not have enough for ourselves." His voice rose. "My brother was on a mining mission when he found that crashed ship. He could have ignored it. The Valari had not been kind to our species. They looked down on us. They treated us like children. Sam had no reason to risk his own life, his own supplies, his own mission to help them." Daniel paused, letting the silence fill the hall. But he helped anyway, because that is what humans do. It is not a trick. It is not a strategy. It is who we are. He looked directly at General Thorax. "You call us weak because we are new. You call us liars because we do not play your political games. But my people survived ice ages that killed most life on our planet. We survived diseases that wiped out half our population. We survived wars that nearly destroyed us. And then we reached up into the cold darkness of space and fought our way to the stars." His voice was strong now, filled with a conviction he had not known he possessed. "We are still here, We will always be here. And we will keep helping strangers and doing the right thing, no matter how many of you look down on us, because that is what makes us human." The hall was completely silent. Daniel could hear his own heartbeat in the quiet. Then something happened. A soft clicking sound came from the Vasi section. Daniel had learned that this was how Vasi showed approval, like clapping. The sound spread. More Vasi joined in. Then other species started making their own sounds of support. Tapping tables, stomping feet, humming in low frequencies. Even some of the Kreth warriors, the ones standing behind Thorax, nodded their heads in respect. Queen Lorena rose from her seat. The noise stopped immediately. "This tribunal has heard enough," she said. Her voice carried across the hall without effort. "The accusations against this human are without merit. They are based on prejudice and fear, not facts or evidence." She walked down from her platform until she stood beside Daniel. "My sister is alive because of this man's brother. 11 Valari citizens survived because one human chose kindness over selfishness. These are not lies. These are not tricks. These are recorded facts that anyone can verify." She turned to face Thorax. "General, you have embarrassed yourself and your people. You tried to murder a guest of this summit, then accused him of crimes to cover your own guilt. The Galactic Concord does not reward such behavior." Thorax's face twisted with rage, but he said nothing. He knew he was beaten. The Queen raised her voice so everyone could hear. "Let the record show that humanity has been found innocent of all charges. Let the record also show that they have demonstrated their worth not through power or politics, but through character and compassion." She took Daniel's hand. "This human has earned his place at my table. Anyone who disagrees is welcome to challenge me directly." No one spoke, no one moved. The tribunal was over, and humanity had won. The silence in the grand hall was so thick that Daniel could hear his own heartbeat. Every creature in the room stared at him. Some looked confused. Some looked angry. Some looked like they wanted to tear him apart with their bare hands. Daniel sat very still in his chair. He did not know what to do with his hands. He did not know where to look. So he looked at the table in front of him and tried to remember how to breathe. Queen Lorena sat beside him as if nothing unusual had happened. She raised one elegant hand and a servant appeared with drinks. She took a glass of something blue and glowing. She did not offer one to Daniel. High Minister Vorath was the first to speak. He was a Valari male with dark blue skin and deep lines on his face. He had served the royal family for over 300 years, and he did not like surprises. "Your Majesty," he said, his voice tight with controlled anger, "this is against all tradition. This human has no rank. He has no standing. He cannot sit at the royal table." The Queen sipped her drink. "And yet he is sitting here." "The other delegations are offended," Vorath continued. "The Kreth ambassador has already filed a formal complaint. The Vasi are demanding an explanation. You are embarrassing the Empire." Queen Lorena set down her glass. When she looked at Vorath, her 4 eyes were cold as winter stars. "I am the Queen," she said. "I do not need to explain my choices to anyone. The summit will continue. Anyone who does not like my decisions is free to leave." Vorath's mouth opened and closed. He wanted to argue more, but he knew better. He bowed stiffly and stepped back. The summit continued. Daniel sat through hours of speeches and debates. Leaders talked about trade routes and territorial disputes. They argued about mining rights and military movements. Daniel understood maybe half of what they said. The rest was too complex or too alien for him to follow. Through it all, he felt the weight of watching eyes. The Kreth general glared at him whenever their eyes met. The Vasi ambassadors whispered to each other and pointed in his direction. Even the servants gave him strange looks when they refilled the water glasses. during a break between sessions. Daniel finally found the courage to speak. "Your Majesty," he said quietly, "I do not understand why you did this." "Why me? We have never met." "I am nobody important." The Queen turned to face him. Up close, Daniel could see that her silver skin was not smooth like metal. It had texture like human skin, just colored differently. Her 4 eyes blinked in sequence, top then bottom. "What is your family name?" she asked. "Harris," Daniel said. "Daniel Harris. And do you have a brother?" "A man named Samuel Harris?" Daniel felt a sudden pain in his chest. His brother Sam had died 8 months ago in a mining accident on a distant moon. The news had nearly destroyed Daniel. They had been close all their lives. "I had a brother," Daniel said. "He died last year." Something flickered in the Queen's eyes. Sadness, perhaps. Or sympathy. "I am sorry for your loss," she said. "But I must tell you something about your brother. Something you do not know." She looked around to make sure no one was listening, then leaned closer. 2 years ago, a Valari transport ship crashed on an uncharted moon. The ship was badly damaged. The emergency beacon did not work. There were 12 people on board, including my younger sister, Princess Felina. Daniel listened with growing confusion. He did not remember hearing about any Valari crash. "They were stranded for 3 weeks, the Queen continued. "Their food ran out. Their water purifier broke. They were dying, slowly, one by one." Her voice became softer. "Then a human mining crew found them. They were working nearby, looking for rare metals. They saw the crash ship and came to help." Daniel's heart began to beat faster. He remembered something his brother had mentioned once, about finding some aliens in trouble. Sam had not said much about it. He never talked much about the good things he did. The humans could have ignored them, the Queen said. The Valari had not been kind to your species. "We looked down on you. We treated you like children. There was no reason for those miners to risk their own supplies and their own lives for us." She paused and met Daniel's eyes. "But they helped anyway. They shared their food. They shared their water. They fixed the damaged beacon. And when the rescue ships finally came, they refused any payment." Their leader, a man named Samuel Harris, said that helping people in trouble was simply what humans do. Daniel could not speak. Tears were forming in his eyes, but he fought them back. He would not cry in front of the whole galaxy. "My sister survived because of your brother," the Queen said. 11 people lived because one human chose to be kind when he had every reason to walk away. She reached out and touched his hand. Her cool fingers closed around his. "I have been looking for a way to repay that debt. When I saw your name on the human delegation list, I knew this was my chance. I could not save your brother, but I can honor his memory by honoring his family." Daniel finally understood. This was not about politics. This was not about alliances or power or galactic influence. This was about a simple act of kindness that had rippled across the stars. "My brother never told me the details," Daniel said. "He just said he helped some people once." "That sounds like him," the Queen said. "From what my sister told me, he was a humble man. He did not want praise or rewards. He just wanted to do the right thing." He just wanted to do the right thing. She squeezed his hand gently. "That is why humanity deserves to sit at this table. Not because of your technology or your military power, but because of your hearts. Your species has something rare and precious. You have compassion for strangers." Daniel looked at the Queen with new eyes. She was not just a distant ruler on a throne. She was a sister who had almost lost her family. She understood loss and love and gratitude. "I do not know how to act in this situation," Daniel admitted. "I do not know the proper behavior for sitting beside a queen." Lorena smiled that small, warm smile again. Be yourself, she said. That is all I ask. Be the brother of Samuel Harris. Be the human who earned this seat through his family's kindness. The break ended, and the summit resumed. But now Daniel felt different. The stares did not bother him as much. The whispers did not make him feel small. He thought about his brother, somewhere out in the cold emptiness of space, buried on a moon far from Earth. Sam would have laughed if he could see this. He would have said something like, "See, little brother? I told you good things come to those who help others." Daniel sat up straighter in his chair. He was not here by accident. He was here because his brother had chosen kindness over selfishness. He was here because one act of compassion had touched the heart of an empire. And maybe, just maybe, that meant humanity was not so small after all. The Queen glanced at him and gave a tiny nod of approval. Daniel nodded back. Whatever came next, he would face it with his head held high. For his brother. For Earth. For the simple truth that helping others was never a waste of time. The news spread across the galaxy like fire through dry grass. Every news channel, every information network, every gossip stream was talking about the same thing. A human engineer was sitting beside the Valari Queen. No one knew why. No one understood what it meant. But everyone had an opinion. On Earth, people celebrated. They saw it as a sign that humanity was finally being respected. They called Daniel Harris a hero, even though he had done nothing heroic. He had just walked across a room and been chosen by a queen. On other worlds, the reaction was different. The Kreth Dominion called it an insult to galactic order. The Vossi Collective said it proved that the Valari were losing their minds. Smaller species whispered that something strange was happening, something that might change everything. On the Valari station, Daniel tried to ignore all of it. He had more immediate problems to worry about. General Thorax of the Kreth Dominion was one of those problems. The general was huge, even by Kreth standards. He stood nearly 3 meters tall and was as wide as 2 normal men. His gray skin was covered with battle scars, each one a mark of honor in Kreth culture. His forearms were thick with muscle. His eyes were small and mean. Thorax had hated humans since the first day Earth joined the Galactic Concord. He thought humans were weak, stupid, and unworthy of standing among the great species. He had argued against their membership. He had voted to deny them trade rights. He had done everything he could to make humanity fail. And now a human was sitting in the seat of honor, right next to the most powerful queen in the galaxy. Thorax could not accept this. He would not accept this. On the 3rd day of the summit, during a meal break, the general made his move. Daniel was standing near a window, looking out at the stars. He was tired. His back hurt from sitting in formal chairs. His head ached from trying to understand alien politics. He just wanted a few minutes of peace. Heavy footsteps shook the floor. Daniel turned and found himself face to face with General Thorax. "So," the general said, his voice like rocks grinding together, "you are the pet the queen has chosen." Daniel did not back away. He knew that showing fear to a Kreth was the worst thing he could do. They respected strength, even when it came from someone smaller. "I am Daniel Harris," he said. "I am an engineer from Earth." Thorax laughed, but there was no humor in it. An engineer. A fixer of machines. And yet you sit at the royal table while generals and ministers stand in the corners. Tell me, little human, what trick did you use? What lie did you tell to earn such favor? "No trick," Daniel said. "No lie." The queen made her choice. "I did not ask for it." The general leaned closer. His breath smelled like metal and something sour. "The Valari are fools. They have gone soft. They see your weak little species and feel sorry for you. But the Kreth are not fooled. We know what humans really are. And what are we?" Daniel asked. "Parasites," Thorax growled. You spread across the galaxy, taking what you did not earn. You pretend to be peaceful while you steal resources and opportunities from older, better species. You are a disease, and diseases must be cured. Daniel felt anger rising in his chest. He thought about his brother, who had died far from home. He thought about his captain, who worked so hard to earn respect for humanity. He thought about all the humans who struggled every day to prove they deserved their place among the stars. "We are not parasites," he said. "We are survivors. We came from a small planet in a dangerous galaxy, and we made it this far through hard work and determination. If that bothers you, then maybe the problem is not with us. Maybe the problem is with you." Thorax's eyes widened. No one spoke to a Kreth general like that. Certainly not a human. For a long moment, Daniel was certain the general would hit him. One blow from those massive arms would break every bone in his body. He braced himself for pain, but instead of attacking, Thorax threw back his head and laughed. It was a real laugh this time, loud and booming. "You have courage," the general admitted. "Stupid courage, but courage still. I will remember that when your species falls." He turned and walked away, leaving Daniel alone by the window. That night, someone tried to kill him. Daniel was walking back to his temporary quarters, a small room on the outer edge of the station. The hallways were mostly empty. Most delegates were at a formal dinner that he had been excused from attending. He heard the sound of heartbeat before the blade arrived. It was a soft whisper of air, the kind of sound a knife makes when it flies through space. Daniel ducked. He did not think. He did not plan. His body just moved, dropping low like he had done 1,000 times in the engine room when something fell from above. The blade flew over his head and buried itself in the wall. It was long and thin, made of some dark metal that seemed to drink the light. Daniel ran. He did not know who had thrown the knife. He did not know where they were hiding. He only knew that he needed to get away, to find help, to survive. He ran through empty hallways, his footsteps echoing off the walls. His heart pounded in his ears. His lungs burned. Behind him, he heard more footsteps. Someone was chasing him. He turned a corner and saw a security terminal glowing on the wall. He slammed his palm against the emergency button and kept running. Alarms began to wail. Lights flashed red. Doors slammed shut throughout the station. Within minutes, Daniel found himself surrounded by Valari royal guards. They were tall and serious, dressed in silver armor that matched their skin. They formed a protective circle around him, weapons ready. Queen Lyrina arrived moments later. She was still wearing her formal dinner clothes, a flowing silver gown that made her look like a goddess from ancient stories. But her face was not calm and serene like usual. Her 4 eyes burned with cold fury. What happened? She demanded. Daniel showed her the knife, which a guard had pulled from the wall. "Someone threw this at me." They missed. I ran. The queen took the knife and examined it. Something in her expression changed when she saw the markings on the blade. "This is a Vorn assassin's blade," she said. "The Vorn do not act alone. They are hired killers, used by those who want to remove problems without getting their own hands dirty." She looked at Daniel with an intensity that made him feel exposed. "Someone paid a great deal of money to have you killed," she said. "You have made powerful enemies simply by sitting in a chair." Daniel almost laughed at how absurd it all was. He was an engineer. He fixed machines. And now professional killers were hunting him because a queen had held his arm. "What do we do?" he asked. Lyrina stepped closer. She took his hand, just as she had done in the Grand Hall, and her grip was strong and steady. "You are under my protection now," she said. "Anyone who tries to harm you is attacking the throne itself. They have declared war on the Valari Empire." She looked at her guards. "Find the assassin. Find who hired them. And when you do, bring them to me." The guards saluted and moved away with silent efficiency. The queen turned back to Daniel. Her anger had softened into something else. Concern, perhaps. Or determination. "I will not let them hurt you," she said. "I owe your brother a debt that I can never fully repay. Protecting you is the least I can do." Daniel wanted to tell her that he could take care of himself. But standing there, surrounded by evidence of his near death, he knew it would be a lie. "Thank you," he said. The queen nodded. "Do not thank me yet. We have many enemies, and they will not stop with one failed attempt. This is only the beginning." She was right. Daniel could feel it in his bones. The storm was coming, and he was standing right in its path, but he was not alone. And for now, that would have to be enough. The days after the tribunal changed everything. Word of Daniel's speech spread across every world in the Galactic Concord. Recordings were shared and reshared until billions of beings had seen the human engineers stand up to the mighty Kreth and speak simple truths that resonated across species and cultures. On Earth, Daniel Harris became famous overnight. His face appeared on news broadcasts. Children learned his name in schools. Leaders spoke about him in speeches. He went from being an unknown engine fixer to the most recognized human in history. But Daniel did not care about fame. He cared about finishing the summit and going home. The problem was, home was no longer a simple concept. On the final day of the summit, the delegates gathered for the closing ceremony. This was when major announcements were made, when treaties were signed, when the future of the galaxy was shaped by words and promises. Queen Lyrina made an announcement that no one expected. For 2 years, humanity has been a provisional member of the Galactic Concord, she said. They were given limited rights, limited access, limited respect. Many thought they were not ready for full membership. Many thought they needed more time to prove themselves. She paused and looked directly at the human delegation. "I believe they have proven themselves. Through their actions, their words, and their character, humans have shown that they deserve a place among the great species of this galaxy. Therefore, I move that humanity be granted full membership in the Galactic Concord, with all the rights and responsibilities that come with it." The hall erupted in noise. Some delegates cheered. Others shouted in protest. The Kreth section remained silent, their faces hard with anger. But the vote was called, and when it was counted, the result was clear. Humanity was now a full member of the Galactic Concord. Captain Linda Moore actually cried when she heard the news. She ran to Daniel and hugged him so tightly that he could barely breathe. "You did it," she whispered. "I do not know how, but you did it." Daniel hugged her back. "I just told the truth. That is all." That is all. The celebration lasted for hours. Delegates from dozens of species came to shake Daniel's hand or touch his shoulder or make whatever gesture of respect was common on their world. Even some of the Kreth warriors offered grudging nods. Though General Thorax was nowhere to be seen, when the crowd finally thinned, Queen Lyrina appeared at Daniel's side. "Walk with me," she said. They left the grand hall and walked through quiet corridors until they reached an observation deck on the far side of the station. The room was empty except for them. A vast window showed the endless darkness of space, filled with stars that sparkled like diamonds on black cloth. "You have changed things," the queen said, "in ways you may not yet understand." Daniel stood beside her, looking out at the stars. "I did not mean to change anything. I just wanted to survive and go home." Lyrina smiled that small, warm smile he had come to know. "That is what makes you different from the politicians and the generals. You do not seek power. You do not want to change the galaxy. You simply want to live a good life and help others when you can." She turned to face him fully. "That is why I chose you. Not just because of your brother, though his kindness was what first drew my attention. I chose you because when I looked into your eyes in that crowded hall, I saw something I rarely see. I saw honesty. I saw a good heart. Daniel felt his face grow warm. I am not special. There are billions of humans. Any of them could have done what I did. Perhaps, Lyrina agreed. But you were the one who was here. You were the one who stood up and spoke the truth when it mattered. That makes you special, whether you believe it or not. They stood in comfortable silence for a while, watching the stars wheel slowly past the window. What happens now? Daniel finally asked. The summit ends tomorrow, Lyrina said. The delegates will return to their homeworlds. The Concord will continue as it always has, with all its problems and arguments and slow progress towards something better. She paused. And you will have a choice to make. Daniel looked at her. What choice? The Queen moved closer. She was so near now that he could see tiny flecks of gold in her violet eyes. The seat at my right hand is not just for ceremonies, she said. It is a position of real power and real responsibility. The person who sits there helps me make decisions that affect billions of lives. They are my advisor, my partner, my confidant. Daniel's heart began to beat faster. He was not sure he understood what she was saying. I am offering you that position, Lyrina continued. Not because of politics or tradition or debt. I am offering because I believe you could do good in that role. You could help build a bridge between humanity and the older species. You could show them what your people are truly capable of. Daniel did not know what to say. The offer was beyond anything he had ever imagined. He was an engineer from a small city on Earth. He fixed broken machines. He was not qualified to be the advisor to the most powerful queen in the galaxy. I do not know anything about ruling or politics, he said. You know about people, Lyrina replied. You know how to speak truth in a room full of liars. You know how to stand firm when everyone else is trying to push you down. Those skills are more valuable than any political training. She reached out and took his hand. Stay, she said. Not forever, if you do not wish. Just for a while. Help me prove that different species can work together, can trust each other, can become something more than enemies fighting over the same stars. Daniel thought about Earth, about his small apartment, about the engine room on the Starboard Hope, where he had spent so many quiet hours. He thought about the life he had known, the simple routines that had kept him comfortable. Then he thought about his brother. Sam had never taken the safe path. He had never chosen comfort over adventure. When he found strangers in trouble on a distant moon, he had not hesitated. He had helped simply because it was the right thing to do. What would Sam do now? Daniel knew the answer without having to think very hard. I will need to contact my captain, he said, and my family back on Earth. They will wonder what happened to me. Lyrina's smile grew wider. Of course. Take all the time you need. And I will probably make a lot of mistakes, Daniel continued. I will say the wrong things and offend the wrong people and cause problems that you will have to fix. I expect nothing less, the Queen said. That is what makes you human. Daniel laughed. It felt strange to laugh in this moment, but also right. He had come to this summit as a replacement for a sick ambassador. He had sat in a chair because a queen took his arm. And now he was being offered a chance to shape the future of the galaxy. It was ridiculous. It was impossible. It was exactly the kind of thing his brother would have done. All right, Daniel said. I will stay. At least for a while. Queen Lyrina squeezed his hand. Her touch was cool and gentle, but her grip was firm with promise. Then welcome to the Valari court, Daniel Harris. I think we are going to do great things together. They stood together at the window, human and Valari, watching the stars that no longer seemed so distant or so cold. Somewhere out there, on a moon far from any sun, Samuel Harris rested in eternal peace. He had never known that his simple act of kindness would change the course of galactic history. He had never known that saving a princess would put his brother at the side of a queen. But that was the thing about kindness. It had a way of growing, spreading, touching lives in ways that no one could predict. One moment of compassion could become a wave that crossed the stars. And Daniel Harris, the engineer from Earth who had only been looking for an empty seat, had become part of that wave. The galaxy would never be the same.